You might be wondering, what does that mean? But we've been sort of teaching on a series in Peter, and so far we have sort of covered living hope, what is our hope, and living stone, living holy lives, and living free. And last week we looked at living together, and Rick shared with us relationship between husbands and wives, and masters and slaves, and about submission, which sometimes we find that very, very difficult to do. But it was a teaching that we received last week. This week we're looking at being brave. We're looking at what it takes to serve God effectively. And what Peter was doing here, he was addressing this to believers. And basically what he was laying down was some general principles that will govern how the way we live. And here in verse 8, he has listed some qualities that we as Christians should strive to have. It was not easy, it won't be easy, but we must try to attain these. And what I've done is broken them down, and then from that continue to look at peace. So let's just go back to the scripture. In verse 8, it says, "Finally, all of you, be like-minded, be sympathetic, love one another, be compassionate, and be humble." There's a lot there. Like-minded. What does it mean to be like-minded? How do we relate with believers? Well, for me, if you're like-minded, it's like you have the same goals. You try to work in harmony with each other. This does not mean that we will always agree with each other. There will be times when we will disagree, but how do you deal with that? We should not try to disagree, because disagreements separate or distract us from the work of God. So therefore we need to try to be of one mind, having a common goal. Example, our church mission statement. We're all aware of it, but are we all participating in it? How are we contributing in it? Do we believe in it? Do we support our pastors? Their work is very hard. It's not easy being a pastor that has to lead and guide a congregation. So how are we as the church helping them to accomplish that goal? God has given all of us in this church different gifts, different abilities, and we all have different personalities. There's not two of us here that can say that we're the same. So it shows the God, when he created us, he wanted us to complement each other. He didn't want conflict. He didn't want us to be the same. He didn't want us to be robots, all doing the same thing, all walking the same way, all living the same life, doing the same thing. He wanted variety. We serve a God of variety. Amen. So he said, be like-minded. Support your church. Get behind your pastors. Get behind your leaders. If they are doing something wrong, go to them. Speak to them. They're open, they're approachable. Don't go behind their back. Don't start moaning what's going on in the church. but to address it. If you can't address it to them, there must be someone in the church you have a good relationship with that you can go to. So let us all be like-minded. Peter then goes on about sympathy. What is sympathy? Sympathy is about sharing feelings with the others, being responsive to the needs of others, sympathizing with those who are suffering. Go alongside, walk alongside your brothers and sisters and share their feelings. But this doesn't only include suffering, it also includes joy. In Romans 12:15 it says, rejoice with those who are rejoicing and mourn with those who are mourning. Amen. So being sympathetic to someone is not a negative thing. It's both negative and positive. So let us try to be sympathetic and reach out to our brothers. When we see that they're in need, let us try to help. Peter then goes on further and says, love one another. What does love one another mean? What does it mean to love someone? It's not that sort of love where we see someone of the opposite sex and our hearts start fluttering and we want that person and we go all out to find and get that person. It's not that kind of love. It's that love where you show sympathy. It's that love where you reach out to that person. It's that love that God gives to us. If we expect to exhibit the fruit of the Spirit in the world where it is tough, because this is a difficult world to live in, we must be able to love each other. And we must be able to love each other as a family. The church is your family. It's not the building. Amen. It is the people that's in that building. That's the church. John 13:34-35 says, a new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. We need to be an example to the world. We have to be able to show love. And that's how we're recognizable. That's how we're different from the world. When we sometimes reach out and share love, sometimes our own problem shrinks. And I'll give you a quick story of what happened this week. My niece Deborah was going through some difficult problem and she was angry. She was so angry. She rang me and she was angry. When I say angry, now we all know I love him, Deborah, but there was cursing and she was really angry. And in her anger, she decided to go for a walk. And she went out and she walked. And whilst she was out working, she came across a woman who was slouched there on drugs, needed some sort of care. Deborah ended up spending at least half an hour with this lady, talking to her, ministering to her, talking to her about God. Although when Debbie spoke to her about the God, she kept saying, there is no God. But yet still Debbie pursued and continued to talk and show this woman love. Now, in all of this, Debbie's anger shrunk. She hadn't even realized that what she was so angry about was now sort of diminishing. God can do it. He has a plan for us. In Debbie's anger, he made her walk out of that house. He put that lady in her path. And there she was able to minister and to share the gospel. And out of that, her anger had subsided. We serve a great God. So sometimes we also, when we come across things like that, we realize that sometimes our problems are not as bad as others. Peter then goes on about compassion. Now, when I first started to read this and I'm looking at compassion, I'm thinking, well, that's same as sympathy. But when I started to look more, it's not really. A feeling of deep sympathy and sorrow for others, it is stricken by misfortune, accompanied by a strong desire to alleviate the suffering. So compassion is more than sympathy. It is the compassion in you that compels you to move into action. So it's not about sitting there saying, I'm sorry. I feel sorry for Deborah. I feel sorry for Christine. It's moving into action. It's doing something about it. Doing the best you can to alleviate that person's suffering. Being sensitive, being caring, being kind and tender-hearted. Just provide your shoulder for that person. Sometimes all that person needs is a hug. You don't need to talk to them. You just need they just need someone to reach out, touch them, and hug them. That is showing compassion. Being tender-hearted is at the very essence of who God is. I'll say that again. Tender-heartedness is at the very essence of who God is. So if you know who God is, then you should know to have compassion. God's tender heart sent Jesus to the cross to die for us. He loved us so much, he gave his only son. We could have 10 children, but would we give up one? No. Let's be real. But his only son died on the cross to save us. Then we go on to humility. What is humility? I looked that up in the dictionary and what came out was having a feeling of insignificance, inferiority, subservience, not proud or arrogant, modest, courteously respectful. That is when you humble yourself. How we relate to others. Do we treat each other with respect? Or do we think I'm better than you? I'm better because I have this position in church. I'm better because you don't do anything. I'm better. You list all the things why you are better. That does not demonstrate humility. We need to put each other's first before we put ourselves. If we are humble and if we believe that we are true Christians, then we should be treating each other in grace. Amen. Because that's how God treats us. It's through grace. So we need to be doing that through grace. Philippians 2 verse 3 says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourself." And sometimes it's that pride that keeps us from being humble. It is the root of almost all our dispute we have with each other. Because we are so proud, we are so haughty, we then become disrespectful and treat people in a bad way. If we are truly humble, we should be in a position to lower ourselves in order to work with each other in peace. But Peter didn't stop there. He was really teaching the church about how they should behave and teaching them about their attitude. But he didn't stop there. In verse 9 he continues and he says, "Do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing. Because to do this you were called, so that you may inherit a blessing." So as Christians, we should not be using our tongues for insults or gossip, but use it to praise God and use it to bless others. Sometimes a simple word to someone blesses them. A smile. Don't walk around with your face and you're angry and you see someone and you walk past them and, "Oh, I'm not talking to her," and you put your shoulders up. No, that's not how we behave. Smile. A smile can really change that person's perspective. Just a simple smile. Forgiving someone is hard. But responding to an insult is even harder, particularly in this world that we live in. Nowadays, in society, people think it's acceptable to respond back to someone. It's acceptable to curse back someone. It's acceptable to throw back insults. And the media shows a lot of that. When you watch movies, it's all about revenge. Revenge, revenge. This one's done something, so you're going to go back after them. We've got the gang culture running around London. It's about going back and going back. You've done something to me. You've spoken to my friend back. So I'm going to come out and I'm going to get you. It's all about that. That's the society we live in. But we are a peculiar group of people. We are a royal priesthood. We should be acting differently. Amen. But in saying that, it's very difficult to retaliate. It's very hard, not to retaliate. It's very, very hard. I know, I think we all know. And I'm just going to share something with you with our witness a few weeks ago. And I'm quite embarrassed myself about what happened, but I'm standing here with truth. I'm not going to turn it to make me look good, because I wasn't good. I was at the bus stop. I came in from work, and I was at the bus stop with quite a few people in the bus stop, and this car went by. It was up on the opposite side, and this van tried to take over, and they both stopped. The man in the car jumped out, went towards the man in the van, and he started to bang on his door, on his window. The man then came out, and they were both at each other like this. It was almost like two bulls facing each other, out for war. While they were arguing and shouting and pressing hands and all sorts of things, this little child from nowhere, child must have probably been about maybe 5, 6, came running out, came from the man's car, grabbed hold of his dad and begged his dad to go back in the car. Dad, no, Dad. Dad was so engrossed in his anger, he couldn't hear what his child was saying to him. At that point, his anger got worse, so he ran back to his car. He lifted up a bonnet and he picked up a weapon. At that point, we're all in the bus stop, me standing there staring. The other people in the bus stop also staring. When we saw he had this weapon, I'm not sure what it was, but as he came charging back with this man with this weapon to hit, some of the women in the bus stop started to shout to all the men that were standing around watching. They're all standing watching. Please someone, do something. No one did nothing. As this father went towards this man with this thing, I think it was a hammer, I'm not sure, went to attack to him, the same little boy came running out, but this time he grabbed his father. He couldn't quite reach his waist, but he grabbed him and he begged. He said, Dad, please, don't come back in the car. We could hear him because this child was screaming. And at this point, the man, the van driver, quickly turned around, went back in his van and drove off. Now, I stood there. Wow. I was a bit traumatized with it. When I got on the bus and I was thinking about what I just witnessed, I could have witnessed murder right there in front of me. But me as a Christian, what did I do about it? Nothing. Was that fear? Why didn't I even pray? Why didn't I start praying for that incident, that situation that was staring me in the face? Instead, I became someone that was just watching. I became an observer. I stood there. It's almost like I wanted to see what was going to happen next. And I felt really bad that if there was anything that I could have done was to pray. Pray for safeguarding of that child. Pray that the situation would not have been like that. So sometimes we see things, we witness things, and we don't get involved. But I could have at least prayed, and I felt really bad about that. Where was my compassion? After seeing that child running in the street, where was my compassion? Could I have gone out to that child? No, I stood watching as a spectator like everybody else. But God forgave me. I asked him for forgiveness. In Matthew 5:39, it says, "But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them on the left." That's very hard to do. I can't imagine being in pain and turning the other cheek for someone else to slap the other side. That is very, very difficult to do. How many of us here this morning can honestly say that we can do that? It would not be easy to ignore that pain. I consider myself a very sort of calm person, but pain is a different matter. But we have to do that because we are commanded to do that. God sometimes calls us to do difficult things, and that to me is one of the most difficult things that we should do. To bless those that curse us, do good to those that hate us, and pray for those that persecute us. God knows all things. He knows that the tongue can ruin lives, especially the word gossip. I'm just going to share a quick testimony about that. A few years ago, there was, at my workplace, I arranged some conference stuff for a few of the heads of service, and one of them didn't provide me with all the relevant information that I needed in order to continue doing what I want to do. So when she got to the conference, there were some issues, lots of problems. They wouldn't allow her in the hotel. They put her in the annex, and she wasn't happy about that because at the end of the day, she was the head of service. So at the conference, she spent the she's the worst manager, all untrue. But yet still, she didn't even focus on the conference. She focused on me for that 3 days. On returning, one of the managers was so upset. One of them had told her off, and he was really upset. And he came back to me and he told me what was said. He laid out all these things that were said about me. Now, when you hear people saying things about you, it's upsetting. Well, I was angry. I was so angry. I thought, you know what? I'm going to give that woman what for. Now, for those of you who don't know what it means, what for, it means I was going out there and I was going to deal with her. And I was going to tell her, but I was really eager to tell her what for. So there I go with my what for self, strolling up the stairs. Went go into her team. Apparently, she wasn't there. I was so angry because at this point, I was pent up. I was ready to go for her, and she wasn't there. Okay, what do I do with that anger? Well, I thought, okay, I'll catch her tomorrow. I'll still give her what for tomorrow. Next day, I went back up to the office, and there I was told that she's off for the week. A whole week. What do I do? A whole week. Anyway, left it, but it was still on my mind. But as the days went by, that anger sort of got lower and lower. Finally, the following week, I think I was coming out of the building, and she was coming from another building. And I remember, it's almost like we had contact. She was right over there, and I was here, and there was contact between her. And when I saw her, I thought, yes, I'm going to give her what for today. And when that thought came to my mind, what happened was she put her head down and she started to walk towards me. And something strange happened to me. I know without a doubt that it was the Holy Spirit. Because when I got to her, instead of giving her what for, I said, hello, how are you? How's your children? I heard you've got a new job. Congratulations. And I think when I said that, she was in shock. She knew in her heart what she had said about me. She couldn't even respond to me. She just stood and looked. But God, in that, give God the glory. Because not only that, with that new job, it still meant that I had to have contact with her. But that's fine. I used to arrange conferences for her, used to arrange meetings. And I remember one day she couldn't attend, but one of her colleagues did. And one of the things they said to me when I met them, that this person speak really highly of you. She said that when we come here, you are the person we need to contact because you are one of the best managers in this organization. Now I went from the worst to the best. I give God the glory. So gossip, slandering and judging people causes a lot of bitterness. It causes anger, it causes hatred, it causes unforgiveness. So when someone comes to you with a gossip, do we challenge their motives? Do we challenge it? Some of us might do, and some of us won't. We don't even know that what they're saying is true. But yet still sometimes we believe it, but it doesn't only stay there. We then go out and share it. James 3, verse 5, 6, likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boast. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue also is a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole body, sets the whole course of one's life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. That part where it said it corrupts the whole body, that happens in church, where the gossip starts and everyone starts taking side. Everyone start fighting against the pastors. Everyone start fighting against the vision because it started with a small gossip. We need to learn to refrain from our tongue from evil. How many times do we have to put our foot in it before we learn? We cause more hurt with our mouths than anything else. At the time we think you're not causing pain, but you are. But also, I also believe that if we fill our minds with hurt, with anger, with bitterness, these attitudes will manifest itself through your tongue. Gossip comes from the source of our attitude. So instead of retaliating against people who persecute you, we as Christians should seek and pursue peace. But how do we go about seeking peace? Verse 10 says, whoever would love life and see good days must keep their tongue from evil and their lips from deceitful speech. They must turn from evil and do good. They must seek peace and pursue it. But how do we get peace? I just want to do a quick demonstration for you. I have two boxes here. A gold box and a black box. I'm not very good at craft, but here you are. But there you are. And with those boxes, on Friday at work, I asked my lovely sisters to write down things that make them happy, to write down their joy. And then I also asked them to write down their sorrows. Well, I've got quite a bit. I also did this I've got a fellowship group at church, and I also did it there, and they also wrote down, at work. They also wrote down their joys and their sorrows. And what I did, I put them in here. Now the gold box here represents our joy. And if you open that box, as you can see, there are loads of joy, loads of happiness. So I was glad to see that there are people there that were happy, were joyful. So I was good. But I can just say to you now that your joy represents blessings. So your gold box is your blessing. And then I thought I'd put all the sorrows in the black box. I'll open up the black box. And when I open up the box, there isn't a bottom. There is nothing there. And the reason for that is that you have let your sorrows go. God is the one that has your sorrow. God is the one that deals with all your hurt, with all your pain, with all your anxiety. He said, give it to me. It doesn't belong to you. And then what happens to this sorrow, all this pain, all this hurt? It then turns into your blessing. Blessing swallows up your sorrow. If we rest on the presence of God, we will have peace. John 14:27 says, peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. Amen. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. So right in the middle of that storm, whatever you're going through this morning, just think about this. Whatever it is, in the middle of that storm, you have a blessing. So just to conclude, how do we get peace? How do we overcome the pressure of persecution, gossips, insults? How do we? Well, the first step for us to take is to pray. Everything, make your request known to God. We all sing that song, take it to the Lord in prayer. So whatever dispute you have with anyone else, take it to the Lord. But when we take it, what do we say? We need to name that person to God. But sometimes that could be difficult because we don't like that person, so we really don't want to pray for them. But you've got to overcome that, and you need to name that person. We should pray that God is merciful to us. We should pray for their salvation. But in all of that, we should also confess our own sinful attitude towards them. Because sometimes it's not only one-sided. We sometimes always point the finger and say it was you, but what about you? How did you contribute to that? So when you take your prayer, confess your sin. Reflect on you, reflect on the situation. How did it come there? Am I responsible? Ask God to change our hearts. And we must ask God to use us so that we can bless others. We should study faithfully the Bible, because the Bible will motivate and guide us in behaving the right way. So when we read the Bible, and when we get teaching like this in 1 Peter, we don't just read it, we live it. Psalm 55 says, cast your burdens onto Jesus because he cares. We need to seek counsel. We cannot do it on our own. And we cannot do it without God. God has provided the church to support you. Use it. When we are mistreated, we must respond, not with evil, but in a godly manner. When we do this, things happen. When we do this, we help bring transformation amongst the people of God and amongst the people out there. So there's a reason that we do it, because all we want to do is bless God. But in all of this, we need to trust him. Psalm 37 says, trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and feed on his faithfulness. That is how we prove that we know the Lord. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. My prayer is that our ears were really open to the word that we heard today. Jordan or Jordan, which one of you? Now when I invite Deborah. Sorry, darling, what you're saying to me? Dion, Deborah, and Deborah. These three sisters of yours are going to sing a solo, but some of you might know it. If you do, stand up and sing. If it touches your spirit, sing. I know who I am.
Hello, bless the Lord. Hi everybody. I was so blessed by that word. I've got to give some stuff to God, including my anger. Amen? Yes. Because we just like to keep it real. Amen. I do anyway. This song says, I know who I am. And I struggled because I thought it was boasting. I know who I am. But in fact, when I read more and more of the word of God, he says we're a royal priesthood, that we are the apple of his eye. He says that he loves us. We can do all things through Christ. The list just went on, and then I started to grow some biceps and triceps in Christ. So while we're singing this song, if you see our facial expression and how we're moving, it's because we know who we are. We have to start knowing who we are in Christ, instead of the devil telling you who you are. So, or people, because some people put labels on your head, you're this, you're this, you're this, and you know you're not. You said I'm a child of the King. So we're going to try and sing this song. Thanks for the percussions, and take it from there.
Ooh. I pray you'll be singing that song all week. Wherever you go, it'll be churning and churning in your mind. Praise the Lord. Coming near to the end, let us stand and sing. Calming it down a little bit for those who like to be a bit calm. Those who don't like to jump up and down and move around. So we're taking it right down a bit. Amen?
Please, can someone get me some water? I'm actually dehydrated from it.
Can we have some water around here? Please, can someone bring us some water? Thank you. Where's all the children? Where's the youth? Where are they? We need them. We need them here. Can someone get all the youth, the children in, please? You are here? Yes, you are here. Working for me now. Thank you. Please remember to come forward for prayer. I'll be down here praying for you. And anyone else around would like to be standing here praying for each other? Yes, okay. A few of us will be at the front, the back, wherever. Just come for prayer. Please don't go home with whatever is going on around you. But I pray that after the service today you'll be blessed and know that God has taken it all from you this morning. Amen? Amen? Bless the Lord. Everyone needs compassion. Everyone needs compassion.
Everyone needs compassion.
awesome wonder.
Right, now the middle. Are we ready? Is that my worshippers? Is that all my worshippers? Just them?
That's fine.
Come on, worshippers, in the middle. Come on. Thank you. Worshippers. We're gonna worship.
sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art. Hallelujah! How great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art. How great thou art. My soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art. How great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art. How great thou
You know what I did just now? I went to a funeral, actually my great-granddaughter's funeral recently. And there were many non-Christian in the house. But boy, did they not lick out that song. Amen. They licked it out. So when we're here as women and men of God, we need to double lick it out. Amen. Praise the Lord. You know what I mean when I say lick it out? You really sing it from your heart. So when you finish singing, you really know you're going home on a light foot. On a light foot. Bless the Lord. Let's share the grace together, hug each other, send us home, dry the tears.